Andy?
Nope. Good evening. We'd like to call the regularly scheduled meeting of the Marquette Township Board for Tuesday, December 17th, 2013 to order. Would all please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk Retired, roll call please.
Trustee Truscott is absent tonight. She's a new grandmother, so we congratulate her in that endeavor. So she's excused for the evening. Trustee Pompo?
Here.
Trustee LaRue?
Here.
Trustee Durant?
Here.
Treasurer Johnson?
Here.
Clerk Rattari is here, and Supervisor Limata.
Here.
Staff present is Manager Gerard and John Bark, CBA Chair.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is approval of the consent agenda. As you know, the consent agenda typically includes those items that do not require immediate board action. This evening's includes the approval of the prior meeting minutes of December 3rd, 2013, received committee and other reports from the Community Events Committee, Iron Ore Heritage Recreation Authority minutes of November 27th, the Sheriff's Report from November, the Fire Department activity of November, the Water Production Report of November. Also, correspondence not requiring any board actions this evening is correspondence from a resident regarding the truck routes. Mr. Pafford sent us one. It was also forwarded along to the entities requested. And we also have bills payable this evening in the amount of $122,014.03. Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, unless somebody would like to pull something out of there for further discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Secretary?
Okay, in the discussion part of this, Trustee Durant has been ill, so she didn't get to me till late, probably like on the weekend. And she wanted an amendment to her comments on the library. So as the clerk, I looked at them, I thought they were fine, so I'm going to insert those and I'll read those into the record. Insert those for her comments. It's kind of a paraphrase, but so these are her comments that will replace what's in the minutes. It says, it was a board consensus that I do not go to the advisory meeting anymore, library advisory meeting anymore, and they agreed that I'd look at going to one of the upcoming library board meetings and reporting back. I think this should be documented with all the discussion we've had and probably have next year also. So I will insert that into the minutes for my paraphrase. So I would ask the motion makers to, if they could amend their motion for the minutes for correction.
Yes.
So done.
There's no other comment. The motion to approve the consent agenda as amended with the prior meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is approval of the remainder of the agenda. Anyone wishing to make changes to the agenda as presented? Secretary?
Since we do not have a scheduled public hearing tonight, number 7, I would like to move from new business way down on the end here.
Okay.
K to number 7 as we consider resolutions honoring Judy Boyle and Michael Springer.
Ernie?
Are we just talking about that or the whole number 7? Excuse me, whole
That would
number K.
that would just be as number 7, that item. As I would change it to a privileged comment.
Okay.
So I'll move the agenda be approved as amended.
Work.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. It's going to bring us up to public comment. Those members of the public wishing to address this board may do so at this time. Please approach the podium, first, last name, address, and who wants to go?
Mr. Vitari, can you connect me to these visuals?
I think I can. It's going to take, just a quick second.
Can I reserve my comment until we get that set up?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
I'll work on that and I'll have it done in a minute here.
Anyone else wishing to make public comment?
Even after you warned us.
Hi, Jim Johnson, 25 White Oak Drive. And I just want to introduce myself to the board. I'm applying for one of the positions for the Planning Committee and the DDA. And I just wanted to let you know a little bit about myself. I've moved out of the city a few years ago, and I was involved quite a bit with the city, different boards and committees. And so I'm kind of looking to get back into contributing more to the community here. And I've been on Lakeview Arena Committee, Traffic and Parking Committee, also the president of the 3rd Street Business Association, and we kind of got the Business Association with the DDA kind of merged a couple years ago. And so I'm also on the Marquette DDA now also, as of next year. So, are any questions?
Thanks, Jim.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, Mike, you might as well approach the podium and,
As soon as we get some visuals here,
please, Jim. Do something entertaining.
No. Jim Clark, Manager, Cornerstone Development. I just need to reserve time for item 9D, the progress billing. And I also need to just add on there that Bromley Hall from Tom Hall Contracting will give a brief progress update on the construction activities as well. Okay?
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Dave Wiegand, 350 Brookton Road. Just a quick comment on the, I think it's probably item number 8 now, I think with the change in the amendment, or the amendment to the agenda, the township hall, or the township meeting dates. The Recreation Committee has changed their meeting times to 5:30 instead of 6 o'clock. And that was it.
You changed it to 5:30 from 6.
From 6, yes.
Thank you.
Well noted.
Duly noted.
Okay, if you do me a favor, I'll just say next.
You can do that.
Arrow to you.
Okay, we'll give this to Andrea.
Good evening, I'm Mike Springer. I live at 206 Eagles Nest Road, and I'm just here on behalf of myself to make some public comments. Next, please. Or make a public comment. No.
There we go.
Try this button right here.
Try that button. There you go.
Is there a stroke long enough cord for me?
We'll try it here.
Visual images are helpful. Actually, I'd be lost without them. So. No, actually, one of the reasons I do visuals is because about 60% of the population, that's their main learning modality, are visual images. XYZ?
Microphone. Microphone.
Microphone. Well, you guys can better be.
Yeah, but
It's got to be online.
the people
You're
can.
the audience.
We We'll hear from the audience.
Are we ready?
There we go.
Okay. Okay, so really what I want to do is I take you back to an old presentation I did to the board, and there's some pictures in here. And really what I'm up here to talk to you about tonight is a recommendation for a planning commissioner to fill, or someone to fill one of the two spots. And Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry, it's not you, but I just learned about you tonight. So if you would, next please. And this is what we were doing, accomplishing, working towards accomplishing strategic goals. Next. And if you look at this up close, you can see the far column that we did finish a wall at Lions Park. This is just one strategic goal I'm focusing on tonight. Next. And we completed that wall. This was an effort of a lot of people. Lowe's were the major contractor behind this that helped us with a lot of funding, but this was a lot of work of a lot of volunteers. Next, please. And it took planning. It took people going out there and taking a look at what we have and what do we need to improve on. Next, please. So planning is an important part, and you want somebody who's going to think ahead and be, think in the future, somebody who is going to be a good planner. Next, please. But the key is, in order for things to happen, is you have to have volunteers. You have to have people that are actually going to do the work. And it's certainly great when people show up to these events and participate that way. But it's really the people that are getting things ready for those events that make a big difference. Next, please. And again, it brings the community together. It brings board members together, planning commissioners together, and members from different committees in this township in order to make this township a good place to live. Next, please. So again, teams of people working hard to, make it a reality. Make not just what our plans say. I mean, we can plan all we want, but we have to implement the plans if they're good plans, and we need to follow through on those. Next, please. And so tonight I'm going to talk to you about Dave Wiegand, and Dave knows nothing about this. So he hasn't seen these pictures. He'll probably give me a hard time about it afterwards, but I can take it. I'm from Detroit too. So, but Dave Wiegand has been out there working on lots of different projects. Next, please. The most recent one is last December when a scoreboard went up at Lions Field. And there's been lots in between. We've got dugouts, we poured the concrete, put up fencing so we had safe seating. Many things that Dave did that I can't actually reiterate here tonight. Next, please. And it's not just Lions Field that he's involved with. Even though I think he's more passionate about Lions Field, he also recognizes that you work together as a team member. And here he is as a Recreation Committee member working on Shrumwood Park sign. Next, please. And I just want to show you this little map here. March 1st of 2011, NTN and our rec committee got together and we went to take a look at this park, this Shrumwood Park, and the trail access and how might we get across US 41. Next, please. And this is my favorite picture of Dave because he's out there when it's wet and cold and damp and miserable and helping us, plan for routes. Next, please. And finally, even that sign back there that's installed at Shrumwood, that's a result of Dave Wiegand putting that in so we could do the following. Next, please. That we can have a map that shows what the plans are for Shrumwood Park and also recognize the donors, the people that help make this happen. Next, please. We have a lot of communities in the area that made this a reality by coming forth, and we're almost at 100% as far as donations go. We're $200 away from the total amount that was pledged, which was $15,820. We hope to get those last 200 in. So we got 100% participation from citizens that donated money to this. Next, please. It's, of course, not just the businesses, but it's also many individuals gave of their time and of their money for this. Next, please. So he's not just there to put up awards and receive good tidings. He's there to make sure that things happen. Dave Wiegand's a guy that will make things happen, and I think he'd make an excellent planner. If you have any questions or concerns, I'd love to hear them, because I think I have answers to some of your questions or some of the concerns you may have. But that's my comment, and thank you for letting me have more than 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mike. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I will close public comment and open up board member comment. Those members of the board wishing to comment may do so at this time. Going once, going twice. Pete?
I'd just like to thank all of the residents for shopping in our area and the community this year. That's what drives the engine, keeps this train on track. All the things that we're doing in this township, and we need local people. We want the business to survive, and I just want to thank you for shopping locally.
Thanks, Pete. Anyone else? Clerk, sorry.
Just wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, since this is the last meeting of the year for us. So hopefully everyone has a good holiday.
The only comment I'll make is echo Clerk Rattari's. Hope everyone has happy holidays. Be safe out there. This will be our last scheduled meeting for 2013. It's been a great year here in Marquette Township. Certainly not without some challenges between the tax tribunal that most of you are well aware of. So some attacks on our revenue. It continues from news coming out of Lansing, including right up till today, about some proposed legislation regarding the access that assessors may have in assessing residential properties. It seems like we're in battle, and have been. We'll continue to fight. As you're aware, we do have some case pending in the Court of Appeals. We intend to see that through. We intend to prevail to try to protect the revenue stream. But we certainly, our way of life is certainly under attack, and most of it is coming out of Lansing, unfortunately. I would ask as residents that you stay informed and make your voice heard. Make sure you contact your local legislatures and let them know that you don't appreciate the shift in tax dollars going from business to residents. Because your small municipalities, folks, we try to do more with less, but there's only so much you can do, and eventually you either curtail services or you shift the tax burden onto residential properties from businesses when we're under attack from Lansing like we have been. So I would strongly encourage all of you to at least reach out to your local elected state of Michigan representatives in John Keevil and Tom Casperson. I found them both to be very willing participants. They'd be happy to engage you in conversation, but I think it's important that you let your voice be heard. With that, we'll close board member comment. And we'll move to the new number 7, since there is no public hearing, and it's going to be resolutions honoring our 2 retiring planning commissioners, both longtime commissioners. Number 1, Judy Boyle. And I don't want to read through the entire resolution, although I could have the clerk do it instead.
As an official reading.
I will read through Mike's because he's here. If Judy was here, I'd read through it, but I think you'll see that the resolution honoring both of them is really just a message of gratitude. And with one of the things with Judy Boyle, in recognition of her long and commendable service to Marquette Charter Township citizens, Judy Boyle has repeatedly demonstrated a keen historical knowledge of the township and has been reappointed as a planning commissioner for a term spanning 13 years and 10 months. And she will be retired officially December 31st of 2013. Judy leaves some very big shoes to fill. When you're putting a planning commission together, folks, and one of the privileges of being the elected supervisor is that you get to make those appointments with board member approval. And when you look at your planning commission and you try to look out for the future of the township, because planning commission is so important, these folks are going to help you achieve your long-range goals. They're looking at the future and trying to figure out how do we plan to meet the strategic goals that the township board has set forth. They work on your master plan, they incorporate your rec plan. You know, so much of it, the zoning, are we protecting our natural resources? Are we being so restrictive that, you know, we have to have people over at the zoning board of appeals constantly because we've got ordinances that are too restrictive? A lot of weight of the world in our little section of it lands on the planning commissioners, and it sometimes can be a very thankless job. And when you have somebody like Judy, who what brought forth is just this tremendous historical knowledge. So when planning commission sits and talks about, you know, where we're heading in the future and how things work, Judy was always able to bring that up on saying, well, here's how we got there. Here's what happened 30 years ago that brought us there. Here's what happened 20 years ago that brought us there. And those are tough shoes to fill, because as you build that planning commission, you don't want to load it all business. If you load it with all business people, you're losing some of that representation. You've got to have a really good balance. So one of my jobs to make my appointments is to think like that. How am I going to replace the folks we've got? We've got a great planning commission, very strong, very knowledgeable, very active. When Judy leaves, we lose some of that historical knowledge. That's a tough one to make up. You've got to find somebody that's got some of that in the community, hopefully. That will bring me up to Mike Springer. Do you want to talk about big shoes to fill? Mike Springer, when he's throwing some pictures up earlier, one of the reasons Mike has pictures like that of every activity that's ever gone on is because Mike Springer's been at every activity that's ever gone on. He's not afraid to roll up his sleeves, jump into finishing concrete. He laughs. He's like, hey, I was a school teacher, not a construction worker, but give me the dumb end of the tape. I can do anything. And it was really true. He would jump in and do anything. And I will read your resolution in its entirety, Mike. Fine.
Just one, it should say 8 years, 10 months, just in case it's.
It does.
And I saw it, okay.
Yours says 8 years, 10 months.
Okay, good, because I saw one for the planning commission. Thank you.
I can. And Mike, you may want to join me.
Oh, I got to go. Okay. For a while.
That's what I was just thinking.
So tonight what I want to do is present a resolution honoring Mike Springer from the Marquette Charter Township Board of Trustees. And first, whereas government in general has an obligation to provide its citizens the best services and opportunities possible, and whereas township government in particular provides the most direct and personal services to its citizens, and whereas in recognition of this fact, the Marquette Charter Township Board first appointed Michael J. Springer as a Township Planning Commissioner in February of 2005. And whereas, in recognition of his accomplished and commendable service to Marquette Charter Township citizens, Mike Springer has utilized his vast knowledge in outdoor recreation and natural resources to move the township's planning efforts forward as a commissioner for terms spanning 8 years and 10 months. And whereas Mike Springer retires as a Township Planning Commissioner effective December 31st of 2013, therefore, be it resolved that the Marquette Charter Township Board of Trustees gratefully expresses its appreciation for the distinguished service of Michael J. Springer, and be it further resolved on behalf of all of our citizens, the Marquette Charter Township Board of Trustees wishes Mike Springer the best of luck in all his future endeavors. Proclaimed on this day, the 17th day of December, 2013. Dennis Leams, is Supervisor for the Marquette Charter Township Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay. Lyndon, get one too.
Thank you.
So, I talk about big shoes to fill and how you try to develop a planning commission that will be able to continue to move forward after having somebody like Mike choose to retire. I look for the voice of recreation, and it's one of the things that when I look at the applications for planning commission, when Mike first told me that he was leaving, I said, okay, but you can't leave until you help me find somebody who's involved with recreation. At least, I don't know if I can find someone as much as you, but I need somebody who speaks for recreation. And it's one of those things that Mike has been that voice on the planning commission for many years now, and it's so important that when you think about where we live and how important recreation is as a way of life here in the North Woods, but especially in Marquette Township, Mike has been that voice. He's been the voice through the planning, through changes in the master plan to looking at updating our zoning, and it's one of those things that I couldn't be more appreciative, Mike, of what you brought to the table for all of us here at Marquette Township. I know you've said you have an interest in remaining on the Recreation Committee moving forward. I think that is so key for us. We appreciate your service. I also understand that you're going to need to take some more time off, and that's why you're stepping back from the Planning Commission now that your wife's retired, and
Yes.
you will be recreating a little bit more. Again, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all you do.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Dennis, and this board. This board, every time I've come to this board for things to do with recreation, you've given a unanimous support every time. And that's much appreciated because, as you know, a lot of hard work goes into that. And you've been involved. You've come out to the celebrations and the ceremonies and made sure that those things happen. As far as being a planning commissioner goes, I would encourage anybody to take the opportunity to be a planning commissioner. If you want to make a change in the future of your community, this is the best place to do it because you really look at the future. You make very serious decisions. You make decisions about how are we going to use our future land, or what's our future land use map going to be looking like, and how is that going to affect our community? There's many things that a planning commissioner has to know and be involved with. But part of it is not just planning, but we're also looking hopefully for somebody that will take a plan, find something in the master plan, find something in the rec plan or the road facilities plan, and find something that you believe in, that you can get behind, and that you will work towards and put time and energy to making that happen. So I highly recommend anybody. I'm very fortunate. Randy Gerard recommended me to Ray Adamini years ago to be a planning commissioner, and I'm not going to say that it's all been fun and games. We've had some, differences, but that's what growth is about. You have to have a group of people that can have differences but work together towards the common good of our community, and that's an opportunity that a planning commissioner has. So there's another seat open. After Mr. Wiegand gets that one, I don't know what's going to happen. But and thanks, Dennis, for mentioning that about the rec committee. I do plan to stay on the rec committee. We'll be hopefully writing some more grants this year. And I also would like to stay on the road committee as well, too. So again, thanks for all the experiences, and thanks for working with me. It certainly was a learning opportunity for me, and I'm not going away. I'm just going to focus on some other areas. So thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Next item on our agenda, we do not have a forum discussion this evening. We have unfinished business. Consider the 2014 township meeting dates. Clerk Retired, there's one adjustment on the rec committee apparently.
Okay. After the last meeting, I plugged in the changes. So the two changes on the township board will be in the two election months. August 5th will go to August 4th, and then November 4th would go to November 3rd, and they'll be in the Mondays of those election months. We did take December 24th away from the Planning Commission because we felt they probably didn't want to be here that evening. So, and there was a couple changes on the Recreation Committee. They're going to be starting at 5:30, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so 5:30. And Roads Committee, January 7th was moved to January 8th, and August 5th was moved to August 4th. And they start at 5:30 as well. So with that, I will make a motion to officially set this calendar for the next year.
Support. Motion support. Board member comment? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the official meeting calendar for Marquette Township, various committees and township board, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Thank you.
One quick comment, Dennis, if now that it's official, if any committee does change their meeting, it has has to be posted, and all those changes have to go through. So just to make aware, if Planning Commission or Recreation or Roads change their meeting, they have to be posted and follow that Open Meetings Act, just like we do. So just my comments, so we're legal.
We'll send a memo up to board chairs, and I've got that down under action items. But thank you. Next item on our agenda is 9B, consider board committee appointment opportunities. As you know, this is a holdover from the last meeting. We have a few openings. We've already mentioned the 2 seats on the planning commission that are open. We did have 3 candidates still. No new candidates have come forward in the last 2 weeks. We also have an appointment available on the DDA. We've had a hard time getting that group to meet. We've called a couple of meetings now and didn't have a quorum, so it's one of those things that we are going to continue to work on. We also have Recreation Committee has 3 open seats, and the Zoning Board of Appeals, we have a Planning Commission representative seat is available, and also Dave Wiegand sits on there, and his seat is up for December of 2013 as well. As promised last meeting, when we looked at the available seats, because the Planning Commission vacancy or Planning Commission appointment is tied to both the Zoning Board of Appeals and to the Recreation Committee, and I chose not to move anybody else forward until we settle the Planning Commission seats. Also, as promised, again, my prerogative is to make the supervisor appointments. I did bring forward Dave Wiegand last time. The board expressed some concerns about that he was on too many committees, and therefore Dave's name was voted down on a 4-3 vote. Dave's involvement on the committees, as you've seen from the presentation by Planning Commissioner Springer, Dave has been a very active member of this community, and not only in rec, roads, but wherever we needed a helping hand, Dave has come forward. Also, as I talked about, one of the perhaps great joys of being the supervisor is that you do have the opportunity to make appointments for certain committees. And again, I don't look at it as how many committees he's on. I look at it as who will fit the profile that we need to forward the Planning Commission's business. Who's going to represent recreational interests? There's only one of the 3 candidates who does that. It's Dave Wiegand. And I did tell Dave that I would give him the opportunity to speak this evening as we make these committee appointments. And Dave, I would give you that opportunity at this time.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. I've been a resident of the county for 30 years, and I've been in Marquette Township for 17 years. I spent the first 26 out of those 30 years pretty much out of town. I worked out of town, and while I maintained some involvement in attending meetings, I was a little reluctant to get on any committees because my time was limited. And I always made a promise to myself that when I retired, that then I could afford myself a little more opportunity to get involved in those areas that concerned me. And I've been on the Rec and the Road Committee and the ZBA now for a couple of years, and I think we've done a lot of good work on the Rec and the Road Committee. I didn't get involved in or give too much thought to the Planning Commission until I was approached by Commissioner Springer. We do see eye to eye on a good many things, most of them around the roads and the recreation in the community. And I don't have an agenda with recreation and roads so much for myself, but I see those 2 issues being a big issue for the residents of the township. And I'm more of a statistic guy than anything else. And when I look at surveys and what the residents of this township want, that's what drives me. And that's why I decided I would go ahead and see if I could get on the planning commission, because that's basically where it all starts. It looks out 20 years down the road, and there are some good recreational opportunities out there, but they need a lot of planning to get them done. There are road issues that need to be addressed. And that's why I've come back to look at the recreation, or the planning committee. I understand your concerns about my involvement on so many committees. Two of those committees that I'm on, the rec committee and the ZBA, they both have planning commission appointees. Depending on what happens with the action you take here tonight, if I end up on the planning commission and I do not get a nod from the planning commission to be their representative on either the rec committee or the zoning board of appeals, I would resign those two positions, because I think it would be inappropriate, number one, to have two planning commission members, one as a representative of the planning commission and one as a member of the planning commission. I think it would be inappropriate for two members of the planning commission to be on either one of those committees or boards. So depending on what your decision is tonight, if either one of those positions were not offered as a planning commissioner, then I would resign that commission. If there's any questions I can answer, feel free, but those are my thoughts.
Any questions? Thanks, Dave. Mike, your comment?
Can I make a comment? Sure. I certainly understand when you look at somebody that's been involved in lots of committees. I'm on the rec committee, I'm on the road committee, I'm on the planning commission, I'm on the recreation authority feasibility committee. And I was at one time on the ZBA. You have somebody here that has experience with those things. They don't have to be brought up to speed. And really, my slideshow didn't go really well. When I had a picture of the board up here, I was going to ask you one more time for unanimous support, because this guy has already proven himself. We got a known entity here. We know that he's going to work for the township, and he doesn't have any, like myself, I don't have any commercial interests. I'm just a retired school teacher. Dave's a retired airline pilot. So you can rest assured that he's going to be looking, and he does. He looks at what the surveys say. He looks at what it is that the community wants, and he works towards it. So I hope that this board, the next time his name comes before you, I hope you give him a unanimous vote of approval, because he's done a lot. And the other thing is, take advantage of people when they, when they are motivated and they want to work for the township and they've proven themselves. Take advantage of them. It's a good idea.
Thanks, Mike. So clearly, I'm going to move Dave Wiggins' name forward for appointment to one of the seats available on the Planning Commission, again, as promised from the last meeting. Your concerns that the 4 no votes for Dave were expressed were because of the number of committees that he was serving on. You heard that outgoing Commissioner Mike Springer serves on the exact same committees that Dave serves on. I'm not sure that it's a viable argument, but I will entertain a motion. I will put Dave Wiggins' name forward. I would entertain a motion for board approval for Dave Wiggins to the Planning Commission.
I'll second.
We have a motion second. Board member comment. Dan?
I don't think any of us doubt Dave's ability to be a good planning commissioner. And actually, in all honesty, I don't bring to the comment that I think the 4-3 vote was because of the amount of committees Dave was on. My feeling on this whole thing was not the fact that he was on so many committees, but as Mike so nicely said at the board meeting, or at the podium, I would recommend anybody who wants to get involved to come out here and put their name in. My problem is the fact that we do have people that put their names in. And I think the mantra that this board has always been to get more people involved. Again, I have no fault in Dave probably being an excellent planning commission member, but again, my problem goes back to the fact that we have people that want to serve, and we're telling them no, because we don't feel that we feel somebody's better qualified than you. And somebody's never going to get the experience to be on any committee if they don't start out someplace. Mike, you started out, I'm sure, by yourself, and you've basically worked your way up, and Dave also has. So I guess that's just my feeling, is that's my problem I have.
Anyone else? Lynn?
A couple of years ago, Dave's name was on for a committee with another person. I interviewed them both. Dave was by far the more qualified of the two. He was the logical choice. It was a perfect decision as far as I'm concerned, because he's obviously proved himself. Nobody's going to fire him for sure. He's gone above and beyond, and I sincerely believe that. I know that. I've worked with him a few times. Like Dan, my concern was not how many committees he was on. I've never said that. It was the same thing, that we have two other people who want to participate, and everybody knows that Supervisor Limita stresses that practically every meeting. So that's what I've weighed the last 2 weeks. I didn't call Dave back because I know where he stands and pretty much the type of person he is. But I did interview the other two candidates. Spent about 20 minutes talking to each of them. I have a question for Randy, though, before I finish my comments. One of our candidates is a DDA member in the city. Now, we learned last time from the one candidate who's applied that it's okay to be a non-township resident and be on the commission. Mm-hmm. How would it fall with the DDA? Would it be possible to have him be a commissioner and be on a city DDA? Conversely, a township resident and a planning commissioner? Or is that something we'd have to check?
Well, we're not in conflict with the city. I mean, we have circumstances. The Chocolate Township manager, for instance, sits on the city plan commission. So I mean, I don't see that as necessarily a conflict. We can certainly check that out, but I mean, it's not something that, usually when you have a conflict, it's one is subordinate to the other somehow. There's a controlling interest on one side or the other. And, in those circumstances, we're working with them all the time, so I don't know that that would constitute a conflict. I would suspect it doesn't, but we can certainly get an opinion on that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
From the recreation standpoint, I agree 100%. I was more really thinking about, and some of the questions I geared to those two individuals were based on planning experience, ordinance, knowledge, committee participation, those kinds of things to check background, really more so than anything else. I also asked them what they would contribute, how many times or how often, or what their experiences were with other committees and being in the area and stuff. I don't know if maybe because Mr. Johnson has requested he has Planning Commission and ZBA, if at this point we could suggest that he be on the ZBA, which would free him from the Planning Commission side, so that we could have, sorry, what's her name, Sarah? Wendy Beach was the other applicant. So I came to this meeting without having a decision made on how I was going to vote. I appreciated Mike's information and Dave's comments, because I think that the recreation side of it is extremely important, as well as the background in the community. I think that's very important. So I have kind of a half of a vote, I guess. I would agree to support Dave Wiegand to be the planning commissioner, and I would question whether, depending on how it voted for the second person, if Wendy were the commissioner, if Mr. Johnson could be the ZBA. So that's not really a vote or a support. It's more of a kind of a comment as to wherever this is going next.
I don't intend to move her forward for the planning commission.
Okay, did you want both recommendations, or are we just talking about Dave?
Just one, just Dave.
Just Dave. Okay, I would support that.
Ernie?
No, last time my comment was because I looked at everything what Dave was involved with, and I'm always concerned with the years I've been involved with the township now for too many years, trying to get as many people as possible involved in many different areas in that. And I know the advertisement was back out in the paper, and as far as I know, we haven't been in our packet, so no one has applied. So we're kind of where we're at this point in time, and then if people want to step forward, we have to go with what we got and that, and make a decision with those individuals and that. And I have no problem with Dave. I think he'd be excellent on planning commission. I spent 4 years on it. It's not an easy job. If you think you're going to just come to the meetings and do a few things, it doesn't work that way. And that there's a lot of reading, a lot of research, and I found out the hard way that you got to go out and walk the property. If someone comes up with something and you just can't read the documentation, you go out and I walk the property and that. And some of them thought that was very unusual that planning commission would go out and take a look at the property and that and see what they really were talking about. So it's a major undertaking because, like they say, it's the future of the township. On land planning and on housing, anything you can think of comes to the planning commission. So it's a broad spectrum of information that will be there that you're going to have to be concerned with in that. Because what you do today is going to affect it many, many years down the road. And that's all. So like I said, I have no problem with Dave being there. That was my concern, was trying to get as many people as possible involved in that.
I will, the other comment I'll have before we take to a vote, unless there's another further comment, is that I will not load the planning commission with all business interests. I absolutely will not do that. We have 3 candidates for the planning commission. The third person who hasn't been discussed really does not live in the township, is not a township resident, is only in the process of planning a new business in the township, which isn't even open at this point. I don't believe that our interests are best served by appointing somebody into the planning commission. Number one, that would load the planning commission with all business interests at the expense of residents, especially with one who would be a business owner and not even a resident of the community, and a business that isn't even viable yet or built. And we all know that sometimes business plans are approved to move forward, but never actually come to fruition. And until such time, I would never move that person forward again. And I told you before that I take this very seriously. The planning commission needs to have some balance. Dave Wiegand brings that balance from a recreational perspective, and that's why I brought him forward. And clearly I was disappointed 2 weeks ago. I told you then that his name would come back out. If he's turned down this time, you'll hear his name again 2 weeks from now when we meet again. We gave it an opportunity. We ran the ad at additional expense. We put it out on and made a request for people to come in who were interested. There were no new applicants, people, but you have somebody here who's willing to leave the other boards he's on, believes so strongly in the community. I can't believe that it didn't go through last time, to be honest with you. Any other board member comment? Otherwise, we'll take it to a vote. We have a motion and a second. Clerk, sorry.
I'd just like to comment that, excuse me, when I was selected as clerk of the township 3 years ago, I was a trustee for the previous 4 years. So I think a person, before they get into these positions, need to have some experience at this level. And the planning commission has a very high level of responsibility. I mean, they're somewhat autonomous from this board. They make big decisions that sometimes this board doesn't even act on until they get the final recommendation. So I think we need someone that has experience as right now, and I think Dave Wiegand would be that person. He does have the recreational background that I think we need on that planning commission at the moment, with Mike retiring, because that's going to be important. And you know, on our surveys, people are interested in recreation, so we need to keep that focus. And that's my comments.
Thanks. Anything else? We have a motion and a second to support Dave Wiegand for the planning commission to fill a seat effective January 1 for a 4-year term. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. The other seat available, we have another applicant who has addressed this board already this evening, Mr. Jim Johnson from 25 White Oak Drive. You've heard that he has some involvement in the Village Development Coordinating Committee, the Lakeview Arena Advisory Board, Village Business Association, amongst other boards. He has expressed an interest in not only in serving the community in the Planning Commission, but also potentially in the DEA. I think that Mr. Johnson is a excellent representative of the community. When you look at the business expertise that he brings, again, from a business perspective, do we have balance on our planning commission? We try recreation, business. We have a board representative on there, but also with business background. Ellen Sargent, the chairperson, also has a business background. Steve Pelto, again, a business background. Those are my concerns and why I advocated so strongly for Dave, but I believe that Mr. Johnson, you heard his comments, I'm sure you'd be happy to come up and answer any more questions if the board has some. I think he would be an excellent representative for Marquette Township and our planning commission, and I would entertain a motion for board approval of Mr. Jim Johnson for planning commission for a term that starts January 1 of 2014.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Board member comment?
No? I think
Clerk Terry?
Again, I know Jim for many years through my hockey background, and I think he would do an excellent job. He really knows the the township and knows the area, and I think he would do do us very well in the future planning of this area. So.
Anyone else? Seeing none, those of you that know Mr. Johnson's business know that they are huge advocates and supporters of youth sports in the area. Certainly, that lends that air towards recreational interest, and we've tried to get more involved in our community. How do we get more kids involved? I think that goes a long way. We really appreciate what you've done in the community at large. Looking forward to see how this vote comes out, Mr. Johnson, and go from there. There's a motion and a second on the table to appoint Jim Johnson to an expired term for the Boyles Planning Commission seat. It is a 4-year term. It will be effective January 1st of 2014. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Dave, a lot of nice things were said about you earlier. Don't let that go to your head.
Just a comment on the planning commission now that it's full. I'm wondering if we could entice Judy Boyle to come to a meeting and just kind of reminisce a little bit of what went on for the past history and things that she sees in the future that may be of interest and be consideration for the future and that. So
I'd love to make that request and see if we can get her here. I think it's a great suggestion.
Yeah, I believe she had a conflict for tonight and couldn't be here, but I'm sure she would be happy to give you some history and some guidance going forward.
I think it'd be very good for the new members and just using her background.
We do have a vacancy on the DEA. Again, we have 2 applicants. They're the same 2 applicants that we've discussed at length previously. I believe that Mr. Johnson, from my standpoint, would be an excellent representative on the Downtown Development Authority for Marquette Township. And as such, it's a supervisor appointment. I would move his name forward and be interested to see how the board feels.
I'll make the motion to accept James Johnson.
there a second? Thank you. Ernie?
I'm going back to his application. He said one or the other. Is he interested in being on both of them? Okay, that answers the question.
So far, the DDA hasn't been very active, to be honest with you. It's been a few years we've tried to pull it together again, and it's been a struggle with trying to pick the appropriate time when everybody can be here. We tried to do it earlier. We tried to do it, first thing in the morning, and I think we're going to go back to doing it in the evening and see if we can get a forum to show up. Because there are some things before the DDA that we need to act on, and it's been the same 3 people who have shown up meeting after meeting after meeting, so we're going to try something different to move it forward so we get a forum.
Just for the record, the DDA meeting will be on the 13th of January at 6 o'clock.
For the organizational meeting for the year.
Correct.
But just as a FYI, as we move forward. Any other, we have a motion and a second, any other comment? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second to appoint Mr. Jim Johnson to the DDA. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes, thank you. On the Recreation Committee, we have vacancies. We have, right now, Mike has been serving as a planning commission representative, and he has asked us to allow him to be continued to move forward with the Recreation Committee. We do have 2 other seats that are vacant. One's Dave Wiegans, the other one is Dan Adamini's. Both have said they wanted to stay on it, but you did hear Dave say earlier that if he was to be appointed to the Planning Commission, that he would step down from the Rec Committee, and hopefully he will be appointed by the Planning Commission back to the Rec Committee as a representative, because he's been so integral in that, but that's a Planning Commission decision, and not one made by this board. But we do have the 2 at-large seats, and based on what Dave had said earlier, I would move forward both Mike Springer and Dan Adamini's names as a supervisor appointment to the Rec Committee with board approval.
Second.
Any other board member discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second to move Mike Springer and Dan Adamini to the available at-large seats on the Recreation Committee. They are 4-year terms. They would take effect January 1 of 2014. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. We have an issue now with the Zoning Board of Appeals, and that we're going to have a vacancy. Dave has decided to step down. Both Dave's seat was up this year, as well as Commissioner Pelto's, and he was the Planning Commission representative. So this one, we will wait on the ZBA, because we don't have any new candidates to move forward at this point for the ZBA. And we will allow the Planning Commission to make the decision on who their rep is moving forward for that 3-year term, effective January 1 of 2014. And we will advertise and begin to look for anyone interested in serving on the Zoning Board of Appeals in the other available seat. So I would ask that we wait on the Zoning Board of Appeals until we find out what other candidates we may have in front of us. Any other?
Library?
We don't have any candidates who have stepped forward to serve on the Library Advisory Council. We'll continue to look for an appropriate candidate. We do have someone for the Beautification Committee. Again, that committee was dormant pretty much last year, but it's going to become very important, especially with all of our new facilities we've got a lot of work to do in moving forward, not only our existing flower beds from our signs leading into the community, but also with our new facilities and some landscaping around. We're hoping that we have more people who would be willing to step up and serve on the beautification committee. As of right now, we have one person who's, it's a one-year term, and it's Peggy Lloyd, who has expressed an interest to continue to serve on the beautification committee. No one else has put their name forward. Certainly, we would love to see 10 people on the beautification committee, but right now we have Peggy Lloyd who's asked to be on it, and I would hope that a board member would make the motion moving forward. Clerk Terry?
Last meeting, we did approve her.
Oh, we did?
We did, so she's all set.
Okay, good. And that will be all of our committee appointments for this evening. I thank those who applied. I thank your willingness to serve your community, and looking forward to moving forward. Next item on our agenda is 10A, consider adoption of the fiscal year 2014 budget. Clerk Letari?
I reviewed my notes from last year. All these, I know in the past it's been read, and it was a very long and boring reading because it's a lot of numbers and everything. However, I can, we do present it in the packet, and it is in the minutes. So I can present it with reference in the minutes for approval, and that's what I will do for saving of time this evening. And for the first item, there's going to be 3 separate motions for the 3 budget items. And the first one is just a simple motion to consider the adoption of the fiscal year 2014 budget. And I will make that motion to adopt the fiscal year 2014 budget and the truth and taxation tax levy as presented.
Second.
Good motion and second. I would point out, for those of you playing along at home, that the adoption of the fiscal year 2014 budget is after meetings held over the last several months and several meetings. As we dissected it, we did have our public hearing on this 2 weeks ago at the board meeting, although there wasn't anyone who came and spoke out either for or against it. All the information is available. It's certainly public information that you can download from our website, and people have had ample opportunity to review before this evening. The motion is second. Are there any board member comments? Seeing none. Do you have to do that as a resolution?
This one is just a straight vote.
Okay. So all those in favor of adopting the fiscal year 2014 budget as presented? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is adoption of the 2014 fee schedule. Clerk Letari?
As I said previous, that is just, we had several hearings for the fee schedule, and that's basically the same as the last motion, and I will move to adopt the 2014 fee schedule as presented.
Second.
Motion is second. Board member comment?
Only comment I have, this is effective as of January 1, so people know.
There's no other comment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. The next item on our agenda is consider the Township General Appropriations Act for fiscal year 2014. Clerk Letari?
This one is a little bit different. This one's going to require a roll call vote, but that's the long one in your packet, about 10 to 15 pages that go over the Appropriations Act resolution for our budget. And basically just the highlights of things. The Chief Administration Officer of the Township is the Township Manager. The Fiscal Officer is the Township Clerk. We had the public hearings on the budget, and then the rest are lots and lots of numbers. But it is a balanced budget, and I think we did a very good job here on it. And I will move the fiscal year. Let me look at my notes here from last year. Okay, I'll make a motion to adopt the 2014 Appropriations Act and Budget Resolution as presented in the Budget Center format and supported by the detailed line item budget achieved by board consensus, which was on November 19th, 2013.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Again, any board member questions, comments? Seeing none, Clerk Rattari?
Clerk Rattari is yes. Trustee Durant?
Yes.
Trustee Pompo?
Yes.
Trustee LaRue?
Yes.
Treasurer Johnson?
Yes.
And Supervisor Lemata.
Yes.
Motion carries and one absent.
Will this appear on our website and that for everyone to see?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Hard copy is available in the office, it'll be on the website. Send it to the library. It's a full distribution of it.
Dennis? I just want to thank Manager Gerard. This was tough. I think it was a tough budget because we don't know what's happening with the tax tribunal. And we don't, we've got a new facility, we've got things that we want to pay off and do it quickly and get organized. And I think you did a good job. It wasn't tough in that it was strategically tough for us, but we had a lot of considerations to put together to make it work. There might be some good or bad or whatever, but I think it was well done.
No other comments, we'll move to 10D, consider progress billing number 13. We also have Mr. Jim Clark and Mr. Brownlee Hall here to offer up a very brief presentation and be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
If it isn't brief, we don't approve any bills.
Okay, I just wanted to say, your agenda item just says you're considering the progress billing 13. I also want to just give Bromley Hall the opportunity to give you a brief construction update. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, I'm not sure where Mr. Clark left the previous updates. I mean, they just let me out of the cage, so I haven't been able to attend a meeting yet. But I don't know how much you've been paying attention to the project, being that it's fairly close here. But all the underground utility work has been completed. The construction of all the the stormwater retention, that's all been completed. Everything has been completed in the county right away, tying into their storm sewers. So as far as the site work, really the only thing left is going to be a little bit of cleanup after spring thaw, and obviously the asphalt. All the foundations are done. All the structural steel is up. We had made some time in the structural steel. We were a couple days ahead of time in all the column and beam. With the cold snap that came, we kind of probably fell back those 2 days. It looks like where we're at, so we're about even up. The erectors figure they're going to be complete with the steel decking, which is the base of the roof system, on Thursday, which is dead on the schedule. And I'd like to commend those guys, All Home Erecting. They're a local company, and they didn't seem to let that cold weather phase them very much. You know, below zero temperatures, and hanging onto those steel beams and joists and whatnot. And they definitely had the overall schedule in sight, and they didn't let up. You know, they didn't stay home any of those days. I was kind of expecting to see them kind of bow out, but they toughed it out, and we're right on schedule, right to the day. I expect to pick a couple of days up, but Bell Roofing will be coming in Friday to start the insulation board, which is sub-base to their rubber roofing product. So about 75% of the interior demo is complete at this point. That should be probably within the next week or so. That should be complete. They've started to open up the floors for the new underground interior plumbing piping. Other than that, we should start to see the building enclosures going up next week to be able to start to contain some heat, and look forward to the remainder of the underground plumbing in the new addition areas. Looking at pouring slabs here middle of January, and everything still looks good for the completion date, which right now occupancy date is March 13th. So I don't see anything standing in the way of that.
Do you still believe that they'll be able to move in on March 13th?
Yeah, it's going to be the only thing that's going to be, and I guess I don't even want to say problematic, but we've talked with Oberstar, who's the site work contractor. As the thaw starts, being that we've just got gravel there, we're just going to have to keep an eye on it, and we'll work between Kirk and Oberstar's rep, just to keep an eye on it. Make sure that we're not getting ponding and that sort of thing, because they still do have to do some fine grading, which they'll hit as it starts to thaw. So I'm confident that we'll keep up on that.
Great. Question for Bob?
What a difference in the 2 years.
Yeah, really.
They only, for the construction people, but nice to have last year's weather right now for them.
Yeah.
Like you said, they're there every day, so.
Well,
Says a lot.
and it's we got the majority of the work that we were shooting for, we got done before the weather hit, and our target really was to get the concrete poured, get the backfill in. Because once it starts snowing and you're still doing foundations and trying to backfill, you've got to be so careful about getting snow and whatnot trapped in there with the backfill. And we got beyond that, so I was extremely happy. So let it come down now.
Great. Any other questions for Ron? No?
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We got a progress building to consider, Jim.
Yep. And I just wanted to point out, one of the things that helped Bromley tremendously is the existing facility, which was standing and weather tight, helped them mobilize into the site and move rapidly. This billing that is presented to you tonight is primarily, first paragraph in our letter basically summarizes what's included in the billing. It's 70% of the site work, the concrete work, the structural concrete work, which is the footings, that's 100% billed. The masonry, the structural steel is 50% billed. The next billing will address that. And then obviously a majority of the structural steel had to be paid for because we had to pay a lot of that in advance and get it delivered, so it was available on site. And then the performance bond for the entire project is included in this billing, and some contractor fees. And then there's about a $19,000 retainage on this that will be held until you have a satisfactory occupancy permit, and then Kirk is satisfied that the construction has met contract specifications. Any questions? I'm available.
Anything to add on that, Randy?
Just the only thing I would add is that the final approval of the financing went to the bank board this afternoon, and we have no reason to believe that that's not going to be approved. It was a unanimous recommendation from their finance committee, so we'll be doing our draw on the financing here to cover these. We return to the public works budget.
Any other board questions? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the progress billing number 13, the amount of $359,958.34.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. There's no other comment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Osceola. The next item on our agenda is consider allocation of the KBIC 2% funding. You do have a letter in your packet dated November 27th from the Keweenaw Indian community made out to Marquette Township and Manager Gerard. I will let Mr. Gerard tell you the surprise he had when he opened up this letter.
Yeah, basically, this is a follow-up to a request that came from North Star Academy back in March, a request for the board to send a support letter for distribution of some of the 2% gaming funds from the Keweenaw Indian community. They were requesting $3,000. We did send that letter out on March 22nd, and that was approved. We did receive, as Supervisor Lima had mentioned, on November 27th, we received that distribution. But as a surprise, we thought there was a mistake because it was $27,000 too much. It was $30,000. So in contacting the tribe to let them know that we thought that they made a mistake, they politely informed us that, no, it's not really a mistake. We thought we'd give you $27,000 towards your expenditures as well out of the 2% gaming. The rationale, I did talk with the tribal chair, and the rationale that he recommended to the board was because we've been such a good partner working with them in terms of getting through the issues with the development of their property here in the township. They've paid all of their fees, they've paid all their connections. They're in the construction project, and to be good neighbors, they wanted to make a contribution to the township.
Very nice.
So we need board approval to move the $3,000.
You do need to take an action to allocate the $3,000. You're a pass-through agency, so you need to receive it. The township needs to receive that payment and then allocate it at the request of the KBIC to North Star Academy. The second part of that I would strongly recommend is a pretty substantial thank you letter from the board to the tribe for the second part of the allocation, which I'm sure
the
we'll find useful.
$27,000 will be held in the general fund until such time as
The board decides an expenditure, how to expend it. I have several suggestions.
thought you might.
I'll make a motion. We receive the money from the KBIC, allocate $3,000 to North Star Academy as per their request, and receive the. Do we have to receive the other money too, or is
We
that?
have to receive the entire $30,000 and distribute $3,000 North Star Academy,
Okay.
$27,000 to
So let
general
me
fund.
start again.
With gratitude.
I'll make a motion. We receive the $30,000 from KBIC. Marquette Township will allocate $3,000 of that to the North Star Academy as per their request, and $27,000 will go into the general fund of the township.
Second.
Ready?
Rather than just go in the general fund, do we want to specify that it'll be a holding account of some type, so it just doesn't get buried in the general fund?
Oh, I will make several recommendations to your meeting on January 7th on potential expenditures that the board can then determine how you wish to allocate it. But in the interim, we'll simply deposit it into the general fund balance, and then you can earmark where that's going to go. I would suspect that you may want to have some identification of how that money is being used for recognition of the tribe.
Yes.
So it'll be on our next agenda for
Yep.
January 7th.
Correct.
Okay.
I just didn't want it to get lost.
Good motion, second. If there's no other comment, we have a motion and a second to accept the $30,000 from KBIC, forward $3,000.
And I will add to that motion that we direct the manager to send a nice thank you letter from the board and from the township for that contribution.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The motion passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 10F, consider the 2014 bills payable approval list. As you are aware, every year we put this forward and so that we can pay the bills without going back to the board. This is the time that we have a bill from the Charlie, is there anything new this year that wasn't on this fire?
No, it's pretty much standard. Anytime we do add a vendor, this list will come back to the board again. So it's basically as what we have now. And if we do add anyone, we do bring this list back to the board periodically. I think we might have brought it back once last year. We added a new vendor, but it's pretty standard.
So we entertain a motion to accept the 2014 bills payable approval list.
So moved.
Support.
Have a motion support. Any other comment? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Ernie?
Just a passing comment on the investment financial institutions. This was taken care of many years ago, so it does not come back to the board unless we actually have a change. One gets dropped, and we have to have a new one put in there. So it is an ongoing financial depository.
Okay, thanks, Ernie. Next item on your agenda is 10G, consider the financial audit proposals. You do have a transmittal from Manager Gerard dated December 12th in regards to those financial audit proposals from the, I believe, 3 companies who put bids in. The recommendation is that it remains with Gabridge and Company. We offer a financial audit services agreement for fiscal years 2013, 14, and 15 for the amount not to exceed $27,960 as the responsive low bidder. Manager Gerard, anything to add?
Not really too many comments. The fiscal audit 2012 will complete the 3-year contract that we have currently with Gabridge and Associates. We did advertise widely directly to all of the auditing firms that we're aware of that are providing governmental audits, as well as placed an ad in the newspaper. We did receive, as Supervisor Levin mentioned, 3 responsive bids back: Anderson Tackman, Gabridge Company, and Rukla Negro out of the Houghton area. And Lois and I did go through all of these bids, and they were all fairly close. But the Gabridge folks who are currently doing our audits were the low bidder and are obviously qualified to do the bid that is recommended award.
Any board member questions or comments? Ernie?
I have no problem with the dollar amounts and that. Question I have, and I have brought this up before, is to try and have the audit in our hands prior to the end of June, because they don't have to get to the state until the end of the June.
Correct.
That I'd like to have it in our hands by, say, June 1st.
Their history is they have accomplished that.
Okay.
For the 3 years that we've currently had them.
Well, we should have it in our hands. A lot of times it's not really here yet.
Actually, they have submitted electronically to the state and us at the same time. I believe it was in May. I believe it was towards the end of May when they actually submitted it. So we had it actually before the deadline. Just for the record, the bids ranged from $27,960, which was the low bid, to $39,000, which was the high bid.
And the second one is, being that we are a financial institution, when you come down to it, a business and that, and we do have a lot of taxpayer dollars coming, I'd like to recommend that they appear at one of our meetings and just review the audit so it comes out to the public, so we know so they know what's happening, that we are doing it, that we're all in accordance to what's happening in that too. So,
public presentation?
yes.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to
So moved.
I'll support it.
we have motion and support to recommend award the Gabridge Company the bid not to exceed $27,960 for audit services for fiscal years 2013, 14, and 15. There's no other comment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is consider the budget amendment number 2013-16. Clerk Vitari.
Unfortunately, this is the last one of this year, and it's a rather lengthy one with the various changes the accountant did to make sure that we balanced out this year. So, as every budget amendment, this will be referenced in the minutes. I move this forward for approval, and I'll give you a few highlights of it, maybe hopefully paraphrase it. It's not quite as long, but okay. Excuse me. The revenue in the general fund will decrease by $260,340. Increases are the KBIC contribution, $27,000, Marquette County Tax Tribunal reimbursement, $12,000, cable TV franchise fee, $2,000, charges for service rendered, $3,000, offset by decreases of tax revenue of $20,000, PILT of $2,000, interest of $4,000, transfer in the liquor law enforcement $340, and loan proceeds $270,000. as the draws are 98% complete, and the Lions Field usage was $8,000. Department increases are as following. Law enforcement was $4,000. Manager was $5,000 for the vacation overage and travel. Buildings and grounds were $8,000 for utilities on 2 buildings, supplies, and repair and maintenance. Supervisor $500 for travel. Capital building and grounds will be reclassified to capital other and office furniture based on final billings. Department, and we're still in the general fund. Department decreases are as follows. Board $3,000 due to lower travel, printing and publishing, professional services. $25,000 as the design engineer for the pedestrian streets program was not done. Assessor $4,000 lower travel and education offset by vacation payout. Clerk $1,000. Postage for the postage. Planning was $6,000 for contracted services and attorney services offset by the planner wage increase. Library $1,500 lower tax collected. Insurance $2,000. Recreation $9,000 lower labor and supplies. Capital recreation $25,000 as the kiddie park renovation was not done. Appropriations $15,500 for as the community garden. Pedestrian pathway signage and paving the access drive projects were not done. Original budget included $185,615 for payments on the new township hall. However, 2013 events require that it be reduced by $100,000. Also requested is to lower the revenue and expenditures in the liquor law enforcement fund by $340. The liquor law enforcement fee and interest were lower than projected. Water fund revenue can be increased by $50,000 based on a higher than projected connection permits and the special assessment revenue. 3 of the loans were paid off in 2013. Conversely, total expenditures will also increase by $50,000. Increases include administration department $33,000 for vacation overage, additional legal fees and water reliability study. Water system salaries $50,000 as actual wages have been 40% and wastewater has been 60%. Water, while budgeted at 50-50. Customer accounts $1,000 for supplies. Water reservoir, the Cox tank, $10,000 for cathodic protection system. And general services $5,000 for vehicle gas and supplies. Offsetting these decreases were water reservoirs, Chapel Ridge tank $3,000, contracted services. Water reservoir Northwoods tank $3,000 for the phone. Hydrants $3,000, repair and maintenance for the garage. $1,000 for natural gas, water pumping at the Cox station, $2,000 lower utilities, and the replacement and improvements $37,000. So that's a mouthful.
What this reflects are these are the year-end internal transfers that accounting does to balance accounts to take into account unanticipated things that have occurred, like the tax tribunal and those kinds of things. Doesn't mean that these accounts are going negative, doesn't mean they're going positive. It's basically simply balancing the accounts at year-end.
Can you move that?
I moved it.
There,
I'll support.
motion and support, board member comment, questions?
There's a lot.
Sorry.
Clerk Rattari is yes. Trustee Durant.
Yes.
Trustee LaRue.
Yes.
Trustee Pompo.
Yes.
Treasurer Johnson.
Yes.
And Supervisor Limata.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0 and 1 absent.
Thank you. Next item on your agenda is consider the purchase of the fire zone and First Look Pro software for the fire department through the transmittal in your package from December 10th from Chief Sims to Manager Gerard. The fire department would like to purchase update software for Ron's memo. It was attached. The total price is $1,864. That would include the software and shipping. The money is in the 2013 budget under administration fire. Manager Gerard.
I really don't have anything to add. It's a software upgrade that I recommend.
Okay. Any questions from anyone? I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to give Chief Sims the authorization to purchase the fire zone personal pro software for the fire department. All in favor?
Bye.
Aye. Those opposed? That motion passes. Thank you.
The motion will carry the dollar amount?
It'll be not to exceed $1,864.
The next item on our agenda is 10J, consider wired sound system for the boardroom. Clerk Patari did provide a transmittal that was hot off the press in regards to changing from our wireless system, which we have had a certain amount of frustrations with, to a wired system. You're looking at the quote that came in. I guess it was considerably more than I would have anticipated that it would be. I think that, Manager Gerard made a recommendation that would bring the system over from the old township hall instead of selling it and just use it here with the purchase of a new receiver. I think that we would probably like to hear some more recommendations from 906 as well, and if that would work. I think we're interested. We've got a new facility, state of the art. For whatever reason, the system that we received from Best Buy on the wireless system clearly can't handle the interference that we get from the radio station that's near us. And that's where the biggest issue has been. And I didn't realize that it would be this kind of expense. $4,803 is the proposal. Clerk, sorry?
Yeah, I worked with a gentleman from 906, Andrew Wazalewski, and he is here, so I'd like to have him come to the podium. And reviewing the quote, it looks like the majority of our cost is with the microphones, and it's the microphones like I think the city commission has, where they're they're the gooseneck, and you can press and talk. They're very expensive, and that's what I think that's what I gathered from the board we wanted. So I know it's expensive, but it's like the camera business. I think you pay for what you get. So I think hopefully if you do get those, they would last for the building's length. But if the board's not comfortable with that, maybe you could spec some lower end microphones that maybe would be cheaper,
Yes, that would be a possibility, Randy. What we did spec out is a quality system. It's a well-known company, and the price obviously is the gooseneck push-to-talk microphones. They're roughly $434 a piece. So you add up 8 of those, and that's where the bulk of the cost is. Those are the high-end microphones. They're 10-inch or 12-inch goosenecks with the push-to-talk. So.
It would be your recommendation for our needs. You're clearly well aware of our frustrations with the system that we have. And clearly, the wireless system doesn't appear that it's going to work for us. I don't think there's anything else that we can do to try to make that work, correct?
You are correct. I've spent a considerable amount of time adjusting this. It is a UHF system. It's unregulated. There's 16 available channels. You have to accept all interference that comes in with it. Not too many places go with wired or wireless microphones for this solution for this very reason, just because of limited amount of channels and the interference that occurs.
If we were to move forward with it, how long would it be before we would have them installed in place?
We could do it fairly quick. Really, we could order the material immediately. We'd get it on hand. We'd probably have it in, within a month, less than that.
Okay. I know the solution that we have now isn't working for any of us, and I think the folks at home certainly have a fair amount of frustration, and they should have the expectation that they can certainly hear these meetings when they watch them either on YouTube or watching on the replay on Charter. I guess it was more than I thought it was, but I think that knowing that it's kind of the solution that we need. Manager Gerard, you got $4,800 to spend?
I got some equipment to return.
Do you have any idea what return we would get on the system that we have now?
I do not. I've not been involved in the discussions to this point, but I certainly will, if the system is not functioning the way it was represented, it should be going back.
Okay. That would certainly reduce it, and I don't know what that dollar amount would be, and I don't know that you know that either.
I do not at this point. We have to take a look at it.
If we were to take an action tonight and move forward, to order these and move forward, knowing that it will be reduced by whatever we get back from the current system, do you have the $4,000 that we're gonna need?
There are still funds remaining in the approved financing amount for this building.
Okay. Lynn?
Clerk Rattari worked pretty hard on trying to get our YouTube set up, and he spent I don't know how many hours in that booth trying to get it put together. And I've emailed him I don't know how many times with people's complaints, not to badger him, but to inform him that, I mean, I had to turn my computer on. I tried 3 different computers. I could barely hear it. And we know we don't need it for in here. Everybody can hear us. It's got to be that connection that it goes through the wires. And the only way I could do it was to hook up a separate set of speakers. So, and even then I had to have it up on full blast. And it's useless to our public if they can't hear us, because we know they can't all come in here. We know there are quite a few people in the township that watch this, whether it's TV or YouTube. And I'm prepared to make the motion to cover this.
That motion?
That's it, 480339,
Second.
Great.
with
Motion
the
support.
possible return of at least 1,000, I think it was. I'm trying to remember.
Oh, I think it may be more than that.
Yeah, it was at least.
We can't make a mistake work. I mean, you just can't force something that's not going to work for us. And I had about 5 people sort of laugh and say, when are they going to fix that thing? So,
Well,
we
it
can't
has.
fix it. Let's do
It has been a struggle, and basically what it amounts to is it's our location in relation to large, heavy-duty transmitters, radio repeaters, radio frequencies that are filtering into the system, and the folks that designed the system should have taken that into consideration, and that's my issue with them.
Dan?
I just have one question. And I see the asterisk thing on the bottom where in addition there would be surface mount hardware for wire run down east wall and above carpet. Isn't this already conduited from the board table into the?
It is, but the wiring would have to be overhead.
Okay, I
So
wasn't
it would
aware
have to
that
come
it
down.
was conduit. If it is, that would,
Yeah.
decrease
There'll be
costs.
some, I mean, there's going to be wires, obviously.
Well, I know,
We
but
go with a
what I'm
wired
saying is
system.
rather than have it come down
No,
the
it doesn't have
wall.
to come down the wall. It's in the floor. We have 3. I think
Yeah.
there are 3
Yeah,
separate
there's
connections
conduit
under
that's
the.
pulled in case the event that we ever wanted to change it. I
Right.
thought Lynn had
It
said
is.
that when we were
Yeah.
discussing putting it in.
It is.
I do have there's kind of come right up on the floor below my feet.
excellent.
Yeah.
That
Conduits
makes it a lot easier.
under the cement and under the carpeting, and you can see the couple of the plates on the floor out here, and there's one underneath of this as well.
Go ahead, Randy.
When we did design this, we did have the conduit. We did have a spot for that podium position, and in front also too. So I think the main issue will be getting the cord from that point into the back room over there. So I don't think it'll be as obtrusive as I think we think it might be. But
We can pull wire, to both of those, right? That would go
Yes.
to a wire
Okay.
mic for the podium,
Yes, sir.
and then it'd be a quick connect underneath.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, that's why the podium was designed the way that it is. It's a movable podium.
okay. Any other comment?
I think the biggest thing is how big the conduit is, well, there's no problem in that.
So you're talking about Cat 6 cable, so I mean, it's not much.
Well, we're going to be putting in shielded Cat 6 to eliminate any
Interference.
spurious signals. Yes,
I mean,
sir.
in terms of diameter of the cable, it's not really big.
It's not that bad. We should be able to figure something out.
So we have, another comment, we have a motion and a second on the floor to go ahead and move forward with Line 6 Technology proposal to fix our sound system for the not to exceed price of $4,803.79 for the equipment. Labor will be additional.
I see, Andrew, there's an 8-channel now. There's 8 people here. Okay.
Yes.
So, do we have to have 7 here and then 1 there, or what's gonna happen?
Well, it's an 8-channel mixer, so you'd have 8 microphones connected to it. I thought that's what we were looking at. When we add 2 more, we would have to have another mixer, unfortunately.
I think we could probably have 7 here and then 1 there, probably like we did before. Unfortunately, the manager and a trustee might have to share like they used to, but I know if we added another mixer, the cost would go considerably higher. Or is there a possibility of picking up a real cheap wireless microphone for that position?
That's what I was gonna ask.
And then have the 8 here, and then you can tie that in, because I know if it's just a 1 microphone with a receiver, it's probably less than $150, I would think. So it's
Yes, I would
nothing.
imagine. Your existing UHF system does have an 8-channel and a 4-channel system. So, you might be able to just retain the 1 4-channel system or look at a separate, standalone system.
I think that 4-channel would probably be good to keep, because that does tie into the community room also with these microphones. So we would probably send back the 8 lapel mics, I think. And
Correct.
maybe keep those other ones and see how they'd work, hopefully. That's what I'm envisioning. Is that correct? Or?
That would be a good plan, Randy. Yes, sir.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. There's no other comments. All those in favor of the motion to approve the 906 Technologies quote for the wired microphone system, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion passes. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Next on our agenda is the manager's report. I know you do have a written one dated December 12th with updates in regards to the budget, holiday office hours, 41 corridor committee, and some other items. Are there anything else that you want to cover or highlight, Randy?
Yeah, just a couple of items. First of all, highlighting, we do have the holidays coming up. The holiday office hours, for the Christmas season and New Year's. The offices here will be closed Tuesday, December 24th and Wednesday, December 25th, and again on New Year's Day, Wednesday, January 1st. Otherwise, we will be here. The office will be open. On those days that we're closed, however, should residents need any service, we will have on-call staff available. They simply have to call the office here at the normal number, 228-6220, and simply follow the prompts on the telephone system for the emergency call-out. The budget we've taken care of tonight. The truck routing discussion, a lot of people are interested in that. We have several routes that we're looking at that are west of the township. Currently, there is another route that's being called the Midway route that would come out near the Marquette Township and Nagani Township line. Those discussions are basically in the very preliminary stages at this point. As Supervisor Lehman mentioned, we've been getting almost daily surprises coming out of Lansing. Most of them have not been very pleasant, and for the most part, our primary concern is that what most of the actions from the legislators are tending to do is to shift the cost of government more so towards the residents. That is going to result in increased cost to the individual residents for local government services, not just with us, but with almost all local governments. Township crier, there will be a township crier coming out on the 20th of this month. It'll be kind of our year-end wrap-up. So again, any board members that have any items that you would like to have in the crier, please have them to me by noon on Thursday. I have received several from committees and from other board members. Also, the Christmas tree disposal this year will be coming up. It'll again be curbside. It'll be on Monday, January the 6th. You need to have your trees out on top of the snowbank, not buried in the snowbank, by 6 o'clock in the morning for collection. That will be the only day we will be doing that collection. So again, that's Monday, January 6th. In that collection will be in the morning. So have your trees out by 6 o'clock a.m. that morning. Legislative insights, we did send those out to the board members. The ZBA does not have any hearings pending. I do have a couple of other items. I already mentioned once the DDA quarterly meeting will be held January 13th at 6 o'clock here in the Township Hall. At your last meeting, you had made a request, Treasurer Johnson made a request to Supervisor Page to provide for the board the same information that was provided to the City Commission regarding the wastewater treatment facility. He will be doing that at your January 7th meeting. Just so you're aware, it's a PowerPoint presentation, so watch for that on your agenda for the January 7th meeting. Also, now that the budget has been adopted, prior to the board closing out tonight, I would like you to pass a motion authorizing me to go forward and sign the sheriff's contract for 2014. Since the budget amount has been approved, the contract has been pending that approval, so just simply authorization to address that contract. Last evening, the Marquette County Road Commission acted on a proposed shared responsibility for plowing here in the township that we've been talking about now for a couple of years. We do have a draft agreement that has been accepted by the Road Commission. That draft agreement basically gives the township the authority to take over plowing in Trowbridge. They will provide us a vehicle to do that. We do have a staff member currently on staff that is licensed and experienced at doing that, is the former plow driver in Trowbridge that was with the Road Commission. So we are anticipating starting that on the first of the year, January 1st, for the remainder of 2014. The Road Commission will retain responsibility for ice control. We will only be doing snow removal. And this is something that the residents had indicated that they had serious concern with. We've had serious concern with it. I know the fire department has had serious concern. Emergency services has had concern with the condition of the roads in Trowbridge in particular, also in Bishop Woods and Huron Woods areas, and on Forestville Road. So as of the first of the year, we anticipate that we will be taking over that responsibility for the snow removal, not for the ice control. That will remain with the Road Commission.
So a couple of other things that need to be worked out in regards to that. Andy, isn't that correct? I mean,
There is.
We will have him starting at early on Monday through Friday, but we've got some weekend coverage that we're going to require.
Well, basically what it'll amount to is we're going to be adding that responsibility to Mr. Britton, our building and grounds caretaker, will be adding that responsibility to his job description. The piece of equipment will be housed here locally. It'll either be at our building and grounds facility, our public works facility, or previously the Road Commission had discussion with Mark Rand about housing it there. The Road Commission will do the maintenance on the truck, the plow. We'll simply provide the operator. But we do have some policy issues that we need to deal with. So we have to develop a policy basically on the snow removal. As it sits right now, what our anticipation is that on those days when we have a snow event, Monday through Friday, that he would probably come to work at 4:30. We estimate that it's going to take about a 10-hour day for us to do all of Trowbridge and the other areas of the township that we would be targeting. We'll be mapping out what the primary routes that would be done first to coincide with the fire department and the other emergency services, so we make sure they're open first and then pick up the rest of the roads in the township. So some of those details yet need to be worked out. That's why we're looking at the first of the year.
And he would be then, it's not like that's the only plow that we'll have, but he will be working in close communication with the Marquette County Road Commission.
Correct.
When he's finished, there will still be other Marquette County Road Commission plows available who will be going in and doing it on the hours that our individual driver isn't working.
Correct.
The other thing that I think people should be aware of is that clearly there's a disparity in the amount that he makes working for us in the township as a building and grounds person as opposed to being a county plow truck driver. That does not impact us in any way, shape, or form. We still pay the same amount. The Marquette County Road Commission makes up the difference in salary.
Saves them money, gives us, in our opinion, and hopefully in our residents' opinion, better service.
So we're looking forward, because that was one of the hot button issues over all the citizen surveys, all of our strategic planning, roads, only followed closely by plowing. This is an effort to be more responsive to those people. I think it's a great effort to move us closer to being able to get our roads cleaned up, and then also the coordination will be there for a sanding truck, which will come out and follow and sand those intersections once they've been scraped clean, because the last thing we want to do is have our guy plow them through and clean it up and then leave ice behind. So he will work right in conjunction with the Marquette County Road Commission to make sure that our efforts are very intertwined and hopefully be as successful as we can possibly make it. We'll test this out, and certainly there may be some adjustments we need to make moving forward, but I think it's a great first step in being responsive.
This is more in line of a service agreement. Basically, there's really no cost to us from the standpoint of equipment or supplies. We will provide the driver. On those days, as of, for instance, over this last weekend, the road commission would have still been doing the weekend, but as of Monday, we would be cleaning up whatever wasn't done.
Thank you. Go ahead, Pete.
With Mr. Britton doing that, who takes care of his responsibilities?
We have backup staff. We have 2 full-time positions as of the first of the year in there, so we'll be covered. And realistically, we're only talking about those times when we have the snow events. So it's not an everyday type thing.
Next question is, who decides how much snow comes down? When do
We
they go
do.
plow?
That's going to be again, that's part of the policy that we will determine that.
All right.
Yeah,
Any other
it's-
questions for Randy in regards to his manager's report? Cliff?
Tax tribunal update, anything new?
We are
Last 2
we are
weeks?
right now waiting for the Court of Appeals to schedule it. Our most recent guess, and that's all it is a guess at this point, is that typically or historically what's happened is when there have been these kinds of cases, the Court of Appeals has held trial in Marquette. Usually it's June, July. Coincides with our fabulous outdoor season. They've done that in the past. I know on several occasions they've come to Marquette to hold the cases in the UP and the northern lower peninsula. So we're anticipating that same thing will happen. There will be a fair amount of attention paid to this case, even though there hasn't been in the media so far. It is not strongly favored by the State Chamber of Commerce or by the State Retailers Association. Obviously, there's opposition from them. They represent the business interests, both of them. Locally, we are getting more and more support from other local governments. I am communicating with them. We'll be talking at the MTA conference in January to almost everybody that's there. From that standpoint, we're also going to be participating in the MML's annual meeting as well for that same purpose. And I'm in discussion right now with Michigan Municipal League about membership.
How about, could you do, or would it be advisable to do a paragraph summarization of what this entails, and maybe put it on the next water bills so the public is aware of how this could be affecting their pocketbook, not just us looking for
Oh, absolutely,
more
it's
money?
huge. Bottom
Or
line
some bullets
is
or something.
if the position that the tax tribunal, this will just put it into perspective, if the position the tax tribunal has taken with some of the big box stores continues to all of the big box stores that we have, all of which basically have filed, as well as some of the smaller businesses have filed all the way down to restaurants for relief in the tax tribunal. If they follow the same philosophy and rationale, we're talking about $600,000 a year in tax revenue that will not be collected. That would have to be made up because the expenditures are there. The infrastructure is in the ground and has to be paid for. So that's the magnitude of what we're talking
That's
about.
just Marquette Township.
Well, no, that's Marquette County.
County.
That's the impact of Marquette County. It's schools, it's the county villages, it's
Marquette County
township.
from businesses located in Marquette Township.
Correct.
Just Marquette Township has the impact just of our tax base.
The impact on us directly is about $130,000 a year. Half of our revenue sharing that we get from the state, basically. So that would mean we would have to absorb somehow $130,000 a year that we're currently getting in taxes from the business community in the township.
The other update to the tax tribunal is that both of the bills died and will not come out of committee in either the Senate or the House. The chairpersons of both the Michigan Senate and the Michigan House committees that the legislation went from Senator Kasperson and Representative Keevala had decided not to allow that to come to a vote. In fact, the representative from the House stated at a Michigan Association of Realtors meeting that he was addressing that not to worry, he would never allow that to come to a vote from his committee.
These are
Of
the
course, if you
finance
look up
committees.
Honesty in government, if you really want to look up and see who donated to him, you'll find out that many of his campaign donations came from Walmart, Meijer, the Michigan Association of Realtors, the Michigan Association of Retailers, the Michigan Chamber, all three biggest lobbying groups that opposed the legislation that was proposed by Keeble and Casperson. It's no secret, you know, that that's just how politics is done. Clearly his decision's based upon who gives him campaign contributions. Unfortunately for the citizens of Michigan, that's just how politics is done in Lansing these days. Those are not going to see light of the day. I don't think that our representatives, as competent as they may be, have the wherewithal to force anything to move those out of committee. So it really just falls right back to us on the Court of Appeals. It was feel good that they threw the legislation out there. Keeble has had 30 co-sponsors. It certainly had support, both Democrats and Republicans, and yet you're not going to allow it to come out of committee. And I think that's the frustrating part for me, because it just, I don't know if people understand that. If more people knew the story, I mean, to me, when you have the chief judge of the tax tribunal putting on a seminar with the attorney Shapiro, who came up with this concept, to a association group for shopping malls on how to lower your taxes. The first one that was approved in this latest run goes back to, I think it was a Meijer store in Novi in 2010. It was decided in October of 2010. In January of 2011, they put on a seminar and both spoke about how to lower this. This is the chief judge of the tax tribunal, Kimball Smith, as well as the attorney Shapiro. So, I mean, that's what happens in Lansing. That's how things get done in Lansing. And unfortunately for small communities like ours, they count on the fact that we won't have the wherewithal to keep fighting this thing, and that's how they'll get away with it. And to me, it's the most frustrating thing that I've ever seen, and the most distasteful thing I've seen in Michigan politics in a long time. And that's my update on the tax. Now let me tell you what I really feel.
Shut the mics off.
Yeah, I got a certain level of frustration when it comes to that. It is definitely a hot button for me, and I just feel frustrated because we're powerless to do anything. And I do appreciate the efforts of Senator Casperson and Representative Keeble. It's just, you know, unfortunately we don't have, with term limits like we have now, we'll never have the clout like we had with Jacobetti in office, who could find a way to, you know, develop a coalition and move some of these things forward. And term limits are going to prevent that from ever happening, and that's unfortunate.
Well, and I think what people don't realize, you know, to use a very simple example of a homeowner, you know, this would be like taking a home that's facing on the golf course, you know, a home that's worth $350,000 to $500,000, and comparing it to one that's on the edge of the landfill. You know, I mean, the same thing, coming up with it. Well, that all sounds well and good. You're going to get your taxes reduced, but your value then is also reduced. So when it comes time for that house to be replaced, say a catastrophe, you have some kind of a catastrophic event, the bank's going to look at that. I think the bank's going to give you $500,000 on a house that is being valued at $100,000. Not going to happen. So there's a downside to this that people need to be aware of. Not only the impact on taxes, but the impact on the property values. I mean, in our particular case with Lowe's, you've got a $10 million property by the time you take improvements to the land and the building and everything else. That's less than 3 years old. That's still operating as a profitable Lowe's, and they reduce it from $66 a square foot to $25 a square foot. That cost us $132,000 in revenue that we collected in prior years out of this year's budget. So, I mean, because it went back 3 years. So, I mean, that's the impact. That came right off the top. That means our ability to perform functions for the residents and to do things like Lions Field and the Iron Heritage Trail are impacted. We have to put it towards those things that we have to recover costs from.
And I don't understand how these businesses in the chamber don't see the financial impact to the whole state, that this is corrupting the tax tables and the way properties are valued and assessed and taxed. I can't understand why Lansing is allowing this, that somebody, whoever, if it's the Department of the Treasury or whoever, I guess, would send out our tax bill
Treasury.
for everybody. it's literally corrupting the whole structure of our taxes. And I don't see how they can continue. It just doesn't make sense.
Until it hits
And I'm
them.
a business owner. It doesn't, I would never think of doing this to corrupt everybody's way of life. It's
The
just,
governor makes the appointments to the tax tribunal.
it's
It's
insane.
totally driven by the governor who is going to determine who's going to sit on that tax tribunal. He certainly should be able to have some sway with these folks on how they should be interpreting and moving forward. That's why it's so critical that we fight and win in the Court of Appeals. I mean, if you look at a looming financial crisis, there's a bunch of banks out there who hold paper on things like Lowe's. You got a $10 million business that you're suddenly telling me is valued only at $3 million. Well, you can't build one of those unless they're financing it themselves, but most of them are not. They're not financing $10 million of that. They're financing, 70% of it through a financial institution. So there's some financial institution that's holding the bag for $7 million on a building that's worth $3 million. Why? Why would you do that? If I'm on a board of a bank, I'm really questioning why we would loan $7 million for a business that's only going to be worth $3 million the minute it opens its doors.
And if you're an insurance company,
Why would you insure something for $10 million that's only worth $3 million?
absolutely.
And the governor's trying to encourage all this business in the state, and here you are, or here he is, or whoever's directing this, is exponentially crumbling it from within for the same reasons. How many bankers or how many insurance companies are going to want to do business with Michigan corporations? The Lowe's or the Menards or the Myers or any of them, Walmart's, doesn't make any difference. Who would want to if they know that it's going to be a struggle to get the values?
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a downward spiral.
When we first started this, everyone heard it was just Marquette Township and writing. Then you start telling them it's Chalkley, Marquette, all over. It's going to be the whole state. You say, really? How can they do that? Well, we have to get out there and tell the story. We have to have people. There's a lot of people in Marquette do not understand that yet.
Now, this is not a local phenomenon.
No, it's not.
This is a home office corporate decision, and you can't blame them. I mean, you can't blame the businesses for the business decision. If they've got an attorney coming saying, I can shave your taxes by 65%. Okay, well, I mean, they're in business for bottom line. So obviously they're going to do that. They're really, sitting in the corporate offices, they don't care necessarily what happens to the residents in Marquette Township. They really don't, as long as they keep spending money in their store.
Before we lose sight of it, Randy did ask if somebody would make a motion to
Sheriff's
give him
contract.
authority to approve the sheriff's contract for 2014.
I'll make that motion.
It's myself and the supervisor.
So we have a motion and support. There's no other discussion to authorize the manager Gerard and supervisor Lemus to execute the sheriff's contract for 2014. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. If there's no other questions for Randy on manager's report, we'll move to the public comment. Any members of the public wish to make comment at this time? I see none, so we'll close public comment. There is no second form of discussion, and we'll move to additional comments from board members. Pete?
Just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's, and drive carefully.
Dan, anything?
Just to reiterate the same, safe holidays.
Clerk Tara?
Ditto. And I'd like to thank the board for approving that the microphones. Hopefully, the residents out there in the new year will have much better sound for the meetings. New Year's resolution, better sound.
Ernie?
I have just one, being the treasurer, I always have to bring up these nice things of taxes.
No, you don't. We got the bills.
You want to deduct it on your taxes, your personal property tax or your real estate taxes. You need to pay it by the end of the year, which is December 31st. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to put it on your taxes and that. So with that, I'll wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and enjoy yourself and drive careful.
Thanks, Ernie. Lynn?
Congratulations, Diana, on being a grandma. It's fun. Wait till you really get into it.
Yeah.
And Merry Christmas. Thanks, board. I enjoyed working with all you guys this year. We got 3 more to go. Sorry, Mike. I'm going to miss the hell out of you.
I'll still be around.
Thanks, Lynn. Everybody have a wonderful, safe holiday season. Spend time with your families if you can. And in 2014. I would entertain a motion to,
So moved. Adjourn.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.